screens here. One has just gone quiet.
Right, well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Caroline Stevens, Seeking the Truth, as always. And on today's show, I've got the pleasure of introducing the audience to Barry McKerney. Is that how I pronounce it?
It's pretty well done for a Pommy. Very good. Pretty close, yes. That'll do.
Some guy from Southern Ireland who didn't actually emigrate till 1974. So you actually left these shores before we had the referendum where the people had to vote to stay in because the government had voted us in or taken us in 2 years previous on the 1st of January 1973. But coming from Southern Ireland, that puts possibly a different complexion on it. And now you live in Australia, that gives you a different complexion on it at all as well. And we've got the Queen in common. But then I saw one of my interviews a couple of days ago that said the Queen was no longer our Queen since the 2nd of November 1999. So, Barry, take it away. Who are you and how did you come to hear about us here in the UK?
Well, obviously I've been over and back. In fact, I was over there in April this year and May. I went over to Ireland and England and froze to death. But I've always been very, very much behind getting out of the EU because it's a one world government, and we're subject to the UN here, and you guys are subject to the EU, both of which came out here.
UN.
The UN, yeah. Both of them came out here actually and wanted to set up an independent seat within Victoria and make it a sustainable city independent of the government. And that's actually happening, EU and the UN together. So they're working hand in hand for a one world government, and it's going to affect everybody. I wish Ireland would get out of it, and I think the majority of people in Ireland, especially ordinary business people, would be very happy to be out of the EU because there'll be less regulations over the plumber and so on and so forth. But it's not going to happen.
Well, it's interesting. I've just been out shopping this morning. It's first day back at school, and it was freedom. So that's why I thought I was gonna hope that we could delay this interview by an hour, but not to worry. So I went into a shop and I just happened to say that I had my own YouTube channel as I was paying for my goods. And I thought, oh, they won't be interested, really won't be interested. She said, what do you talk about? I said, well, it's about paedophilia and politics. Oh, she said, I'm really, really interested. So she's probably, I would say, she might be watching this now. So she's probably in her mid-30s. And she and her friend behind the counter, they said, oh, we'll watch you at lunchtime. So I thought, wow, it does interest people. There are lots of people, the quiet people that are not shown in the media, not interviewed by the broadcasters. They actually do want to leave the European Union, and there's a lot more knowledge out there on the streets. We might assume, if you see what I mean, bearing in mind so many people still watch the BBC. Do you get the BBC over there?
Oh, well, I've got Sky TV, which is Foxtel here. I watch Al Jazeera and Fox News. The rest, if it was raining outside, I'd look out the window to make sure it was raining. I don't trust much of them, but we've got a lot in common, you see. And here they've passed a bill now that they've got two bills going here. One, the Bail-in Act, so people are going to lose their superannuation, and we've spoke to some members of the police force which I'm ex, right, and they're going to lose their superannuation, but they don't want to believe it. And then they've got another act that just passed where they're going to limit, you take $10,000 out of the bank and you won't be able to, if you don't declare it to them and you buy something for cash, you could end up in jail for 2 years. Now that the whole process is to get rid of cash, so they'll use your phone and a chip so that you can buy things. And if you're a very naughty, I hate the term person, which is a corporation, you won't be able to buy or do anything. And I think that's probably, England is probably well and truly on its way there as well. Would that be right?
Now, I actually subscribe to an organisation based in Australia. I think it's some sort of combination between a political organisation and a Christian organisation. And the name fails me, but they actually produce some fantastically interesting emails, one of which came through yesterday, and it was about the protests in Hong Kong and how the UK and USA are actually implicated in all of this. So I will, I hope that we can speak again live on Facebook and go onto YouTube as well, and then we can maybe follow up on these other organisations in Australia. So we've got a situation where the Queen headed the Commonwealth. The Queen was found guilty in a common law court several years ago of child abduction. She has never been held to account because we know that common law courts don't seem to have any teeth. Now, we've now got a very, very great opportunity to actually take back control of the Epstein case, which is something I've been covering quite extensively on Facebook and YouTube. Epstein, Prince Andrew, so we're linked in with the royal family again. And also it links in directly with the banks. And it's the banks that you and I know now create the wars, and they're the ones who, I guess, they're part of the Zionist New World Order. They head it all up together with the Queenie. And so, I mean, it's like the royal family are the biggest insider dealers in the world. They own property, more land than anybody else, and that didn't come to them by chance, did it? Let's be honest. So
I'm a fan. I'm a fan if the royal family, and as an Irishman, it may sound rather strange, and it does to some of my Irish friends, especially the army guys. And you'll find a lot of second and third generation here were probably more patriotic than the people back home. The reason we are very much for the Queen here is because our constitution, and a constitution, for people to understand, is like the foundation of your home. If it's got cracks in it and if it's not right, your house is going to fall down. And everything has fallen down here since the Act of 1986, which removed the Queen and made us a republic without telling the people and without a referendum. So we need a Queen back in our country, head of our country, and back in our constitution. So I'm going to say hi to the Queen if she happens to be watching this, which I doubt very much. And sadly, the majority of people watching this are already in the know. It's the people who don't know, if we could get the message to them, your point of view or my point of view, perhaps we may get things done. But if you look at history, there's been wars, and the last generations have gone through a lot of stuff. There's always been this inbuilt them and us, and whether that's ever going to change or not, we're trying our best to do it, and I hope to God we succeed. But I think people have had enough, and Hong Kong is a great example of young people, and it's amazing to see young people with such determination for a little bit of freedom, which we haven't. We used to have. It's gone. You have to buy a puppy now. Everything has changed. The freedom is gone. Money, everything. Sorry about that, but I'm a Queen fan.
we see in the UK, actually, I know, say 4 or 5 years ago, I was quite astonished by the amount of people that wanted Australia to become a republic. And I'm not advocating that at all. As you say, you need the foundation stones. But the fact is that if you have corruption at the highest level, our Magna Carta did say no man is above the law. And we all, in any divinity law, any law at all, nobody should be above the law. So the fact of the matter is that we have a corrupt royal family who have been found guilty, and we have also got, for example, Prince Andrew, who must be sent back to the USA to face those allegations, because if you lead, you have to lead people into battle by example. So they should not be heading some sort of fake hierarchy unless they, face the same consequences as you and I would do in the same situation. So you cannot have respect for people. It's like for us in the UK, I used to follow Nigel Farage, or at least I used to support what he said. But when he left the scene of the battle, before the battle had actually even really started, that was over 3 years now, then a lot of people got very disillusioned with somebody who purports to be a leader, but then moves to one side and focuses on other areas of making money, shall we say, and leaving the battle, when in actual fact, if he had stayed, we would have been out by now, undoubtedly, because he could have pulled the people together, and it is about strength in unity.
Yes, it's funny you mentioned that he above the law. That's one of the second maxims. He who thinks he's above the law is insane. And the other one, leaves the field of battle, is maxim 8, where he who leaves the field of battle loses by default. That's when a magistrate leaves the court. And they can come back under a different jurisdiction. They've got 3 jurisdictions, and they get 3 goes at it. But that's another story. But I'm not up to speed on Prince Andrew or anything like that. I'm basically, well, shall we say, I'm trying to get this message out here that to the people who don't even know it. We are a republic since 1986. The Queen was removed from the Justice Act in 2004. So all our judges and barristers, sisters, and solicitors in general have no oath of office. So we have a very private company running. It's a business. We call this the state bank, or the magistrates court here, the new state bank. So it's the same everywhere. It's a one world government, and the Bushes started it all off, and they've kept it going. And poor old Donald Trump is up against it now, and the deep state control it. I mean, did you watch the House of Cards? I mean, the president is just a puppet like everybody else, and we're pretty doomed, but we've got to keep on fighting. And I think the most important thing is the YouTube and Facebook, we can't bite the hand that feeds us, so we have to obey to a certain degree, thank them for it, but not poo on them, because I'm quite conscious of that. So my YouTube channels are fun and education, and I like to keep it that way. I don't want to, that's Johnny Cash song, you've got to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, and you've got to know when to run. And I know when to run.
So, I mean, you're talking to somebody who's been doing interviews for 15 months now. I used to do them on out of a film studios called Stepping Stones to Awareness. And, 15 months ago, I could be interviewing 3 people in one evening. And in all the Facebook groups, after one interview, I could get that interview into all my Facebook groups. And then I'd get onto my second interview, and between interview 2 and interview 3, I'd be able to get that interview into most of my Facebook groups as well. So now, my interviews are so hard hitting and so bang on the money that I get them into 3 or 4 groups, and then I get the message, there's been a violation and you've got a ban for 24 hours to posting into groups. And then, so a couple of days ago, I then got a notification I've now got a ban for 7 days. So I think you just end up on a glide path to knowing that if you are not controlled opposition, then you will eventually get kicked off Facebook. So, I mean, I've got a YouTube channel now. It hasn't been going that long. Caroline Stevens Seeking the Truth. And what's your YouTube channel called, Barry?
Lundove. 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 It's the it's the Gaelic for blackbird. I wanted a business name once, and every business I wanted to register, it was all taken. So I thought I'll use something Irish. Blackbird in Gaelic is Lundove, Lundove. And I've never upset Google, and I've never upset YouTube and Facebook. And I don't want to. And I do actually appreciate doing this with you as well. And we are getting a message out there. And I think we just got to be diplomatic about it. And if you want to accuse somebody of doing something, you've got to look and say, look, it could be seen on reasonable grounds that this person, or that term person again, may be guilty of something, but you got to stick within the framework of the law, which I do. I never, everything's got to be on reasonable grounds. And if you stick to the law, you find that nobody will bother you. And unless a lot of people take you very seriously, then you might become a thorn in their side, and then they're going to whack you.
Absolutely. But the thing is, Facebook it's got its own police force, if you like, and that's special branch. There are only certain people that can actually remove posts, remove videos. I mean, I've had a couple of videos removed, but I know why those videos have been removed, and it's not something I've particularly said as such. It's because of the video was focusing on something that the establishment is running. So, yes, you're right. You do have to be very careful, but you're still seeking the truth, and it has to be a bit of a trade-off there. So, Barry, as I understand it, the Queen, and I've only just learnt this recently, although we still see the Queen as the Queen on the front pages of our newspapers, that's what everybody thinks of her, that she is still the Queen. If she left on the 2nd of November 1999, I don't know what that deal was. It just so happens, though, that in 1999, I do know for a fact that the House of Lords Act 1999 came in, and at that point, most of the hereditary peers had been removed from Parliament. In fact, I believe some didn't even know about it until they turned up to work in the House of Lords with their pass and couldn't access.
Oh my God. I believe it. You see, our Senate here is like the House of Lords. Their job is to look at all laws that are produced and to find out whether they're acceptable. Under the Section 109 of the Constitution, anything any law that's passed is repugnant to the Constitution or ultra vires if it defies that section of the Constitution. Well, the Senate's job is to look at that and say, yes, that's constitutional, we'll pass it. What they're doing here is they'll have a bunch, mostly the Greens, and high Greens, I don't like you either, but that's another story. They have a very small amount of people in the Senate, and they will pass this law, and it becomes law, and the majority of people are not there at all. So probably the House of Lords is probably something similar happening there.
Well, it was supposed to be the check. Well, basically what happened was they removed most of the hereditary peers, and the purpose of the House of Lords since the 14th century has been to provide the checks and balances on the elected representatives, i.e. the members of Parliament in the House of Commons. Now, so if they remove, because they have been living here, their families have been living here for generations, you would expect that they would have a great affinity to the British way of life.
Yeah.
But I did an interview 18 months ago with one of those peers who actually was left at that time because he said, Caroline, we were being forced into they're whipped as well in the House of Lords, which goes totally against our Constitution. They were being whipped into signing another treaty to take us further and further into the European Union. So the government threatened them, and so they had to then do a trade-off with so many of them being removed to be replaced by establishment elite cronies who perhaps do not have that affinity with our soil.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So when you have most of the House of Lords who are supposed to be checking the balances, and they are corrupt themselves and have vested interests. I mean, we only had, in February of this year, we had this guy called Bill Browder and speak to a select committee with Priti Patel and I think Chris Bryant, and said to them, look, for the past 8 or 9 years, I have been giving evidence against your corrupt Houses of Parliament that you have got lords, for example, accepting what can only be termed as bribes. So we totally corrupt Parliament.
But you've got a problem. England has got a problem, and we have an advantage. We've got two advantages. England's constitution is not written, and that is a problem because that's why they have a constitutional crisis now. England's constitution is based on history. Our constitution has nine sections, 8 of which are set in concrete. They're entrenched. They cannot be changed. The 9th one can, and only by referendum. So we've had 40 referendums here that got knocked back by the people. So the government now, since the Labour Party started it all off, they just go have postal votes and stuff. So they've bypassed referendums. But and we have compulsory voting as well, which everybody has to vote, and there are very large fines for not voting. And if we didn't have that, we'd have God knows who we'd have in Parliament. We got bad. What's there now is not much use, but we would be worse off.
Yeah. So you've got a totally written constitution. I assume it's say no man is above the law.
Well, that's maximum 2. No man is above. All men are equal under the law, and any man who thinks he's above the law is insane. That comes eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. All comes from the Bible. All of the maxims, anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Now we're talking. So, as I understand it, somebody sent me a video a couple of days ago where a group of Australians have been lobbying your Parliament, your Senate, and had managed to sort of provide evidence to at least one person there who will remain nameless because I'm not sure if this is supposed to be totally exposed at the moment. But that person has been made aware of the Queen situation and the occupation. It's this occupation. We've been occupied. The Queen took a Catholic crown, and that Vatican Catholic crown is not.
Yeah. Edward the Confessor's crown. That's right. Yeah. And that's in itself is a problem because, anyway, that's an English problem, right? I think I'll just stick with ours. you can fix the one over there with a bit of luck.
The thing is, because we're all part of the Commonwealth, because we're all part of the United Nations, I think actually, from my understanding, is that especially the Commonwealth are looking to the UK. How are we going to sort out this constitutional crisis when we have this corrupt government, and even the Queen has walked behind the Mayor of London because she doesn't have authority in the City of London. That's
that goes back to 1066. London's walls were breached by William the Conqueror, so it remained an independent country within England. That's the only reason. And of course, there's 3 independent cities: Washington, D.C., the Vatican, and of course London, and they've all got the obelisks. But that is the reason for that, and Bar of London. So all the money guys are in there, and it's a different country, and that's why she has to get permission to get in. One time they used to hold a hostage outside, and whether it was ceremonial for years, whether they still do or not, you may know that, but I don't. But that is an independent country, one of the 3 independent countries of the world. And London does control the money. The Vatican, I believe, owns all Crown land since 1235, because England, the Crown of London, that department was paying in marks. I don't know how much marks to the Vatican after King John went away, took off. He was exiled, and I think he may have drowned. I'm not sure. I forget the story. But anyway, they didn't pay the bill to the Vatican, so the Vatican apparently have taken control of all Crown land. Now, that may extend here to Australia and America and New Zealand, where the Vatican owns the Crown land, but the Crown land of District Corporation of London, definitely. That's one. If you don't know about it, look it up. Yeah, it could be seen on reasonable grounds as so far. That's the truth.
Well, the Queen there's no doubt about it. There is a link, and nobody's really been able to establish for sure exactly what the link is between the Queen, the Vatican, and the Zionist agenda, and who is in handing, how this all exactly works. All I do know is that we've got this legal fiction situation about our birth certificates, and we become wards of the state. Are you aware of that?
Oh, of course, yeah. That's why you when he's born, you're allowed to keep it for, I think it's 28 days or something, and if you don't smack it and beat it, you're allowed to keep it. So, and then of course anything that's registered belongs to, you've given your ownership, and it becomes a person, and hence when somebody is missing at sea, they wait 7 years and then declared dead. So you're declared by the Act of 1666 on the 26th of September 1666. The big fire in London went on for a couple of days in Pudding Lane, and that's when the Vatican declared all people all dead, and they owned your soul, and so on and so forth. And it goes back that far, 1666. Hence the term 666, the mark of the devil.
Right, so basically we need to reclaim our souls.
Well, you can. There's some people here have actually got hold of their Cusick's number from Boston. They've actually found, and a couple of people here, I don't know how many, I don't know how truthful it is, but they have actually got the Cusick, it's called a Cusick number. The banks have it, because when the banks give you money, they don't actually know, they don't give you anything, but they have that Cusick number so they can get money anyway from out of your birth certificate. But a few people have actually claimed that money, and quite a few people here have paid using that money to pay off loans and stuff here.
Right. So you've not tried this yourself then?
Oh no. I'm just basically fun and information on my YouTube channel, and I'm very interested in law. I've been studying the law itself now for 5 years. I love it, but I'm not interested in being. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a barrister, a solicitor. I'm not involved. I don't even. Well, I do have family friends in it, and I find the young ones coming out of university now that they're entrenched in commercial law. They have no idea about any other laws. Well, definitely the Constitution. They haven't got a clue. So they're pretty institutionalized and focused on just one area, money.
Right, you touched at the beginning of the show on two aspects that were happening in Australia at the moment. You were talking about the superannuation for, was it the police force?
Well, everybody. It's called the Bail-In Act, and to get this message to the ordinary man and woman in the street is impossible. It's called the Bail-In Act. They're going to bail, all that money is going to be taken out of your superannuation, and it will be given to the banks. It's capped at $250,000. So if you've got $500,000 or $600,000 or $1 million in your superannuation, you can kiss it goodbye. And they've passed a law that says that you can't use cash to buy anything over $10,000. There'll be 2 years in jail. But they're going to do away with cash anyway, because, as I said, you'll have, well, the phone does everything. And if you're a naughty boy or a naughty girl, you won't be able to pay your bills, you won't be able to do anything, you won't be able to spend anything, and they can shut you down. I mean, China's a good example with face recognition. They've got that in the schools apparently now, that if the kids are naughty in school, it comes up on the history. We've got a long way to go, but they'll get there eventually. And when the majority, 94% of the people I call them the walking dead, and you're wasting your time because they're not going to listen. And that's why we're allowed to do what we're doing now, because the government know that.
I know.
Let these people waffle on, and they'll go away, and they'll get old and die, and nobody will give us stuff.
long, exactly.
I'm 74. I'm 74 in November, so you know, I'm on. I call it the cul-de-sac of life, or a rechargeable battery that with an unlimited shelf life.
The reason why the government has been kicking the can into the long grass for over 3 years now, because it's just allowed us to accept or continue to accept all the EU legislation. We are actually further integrated now with the EU than we were before. Whatever anybody says, we are, and we've tied up to lots of pacts which aren't mentioned in the withdrawal agreement. We've let in so many more people under both open borders and asylum seekers since June 2016. But most importantly, a lot of the people that voted to leave, to dump the European Union, have sadly passed away. That is a fact. I know people that were campaigning with me who in the past 3 years have died.
Oh yes, well, yes, and it's all goes back to the Yatla agreement. Yatla was just after the war when the three leaders met in a place called Yatla in Russia, where they, with Wilson and all them before, started the League of Nations. But it all goes back to the Yatla agreement just after the war, when they decided to share up what was left of the world and one world government. It goes back a long way. They've been working on this since the end of the war. And they've had a long time to do it, and they're becoming pretty professional. And people often, you've only got to look at Greece to see what happens, or Cyprus, which I've been to, and you've only got to look there and say what happened to them. Well, that goes back to Friday the 13th with the Templars, where they got from the King of Spain was going to raid them, and they got word of it, so they took all their money and stuff out, and I know where they went, but anyway. The older folks, the leaders, were left behind. The Greeks were supposed to rescue them out of Spain, and they didn't. So they got paid back here now in Cyprus. There's one organisation that really, not talking about the builder groups, but there's another organisation which I should leave unnamed because they might bite me. And the deep state is bigger than the government and bigger than the EU and the UN. So it goes back after the war to the Yatla Agreement. It started back then, and it's you and I we'll keep on banging our head against the brick wall, and we may get a few bricks moved, but we got to keep going. You got to keep spreading the truth.
I'm positive about that. We can make a change, because what don't realise is the dark side, actually need our consent. And that's the important thing, that I'm not giving them consent anymore.
Well, citizens only apply to a republic. So citizens of Rome, Irish citizens, Ireland, there's two types of republic: democratic republic and a republic. Ireland is a republic. It doesn't need a majority. America is a democratic republic. But outside a republic, you see what I can't understand. Well, I do understand it. The ordinary man and woman in England doesn't understand they've lost their sovereignty. They've lost control of their own courts. They've lost control of the police force, or police service, which is probably a better term. And you've got no pride if you haven't got pride in yourself. So you've given, and there again, these treason still exists, and high treason, and all these politicians now who are against Boris Johnson should be seen on reasonable ground guilty of treason. Why they're not charged with treason is beyond me.
Hang on, but Boris Johnson, all of them, all 650 MPs, are committing treason every day. Every day. I
like Boris. I hope to God he does what he says he does, and you've got a different opinion. I don't know. You know more about that than I do, and. I'm a Donald Trump supporter. I've lost half the people who loved me 2 seconds ago now don't talk to me ever again.
What did you say?
I like guys.
What did you say to upset those people that won't talk to you again?
Well, if I asked a lot of people, and mostly women, what do you think of Donald Trump? And straight away, off. They say he's this. And what do you know about him? Where did he go to school? Oh, where did he live? What did he do before he... They haven't got a clue, but they've been told by the left-wingers, which nowadays are really bizarre, that he's not a nice man. And
so let's use that as an example. So the media focuses on a negative perspective of Donald Trump. So that is a good reason to like him. Now the media actually supports Johnson, so he's got to be a no-no, absolutely a no-no. If you look back at the things he's said and the things he's done, ye shall know them by the fruits that they bear. Okay, so that he has a few years before the general election of 2015, he denigrated the children, the youth of this country, saying they were lazy, good for nothings, they couldn't be bothered to do this, that and the other, couldn't be bothered to go to work. He was applauding that these apprenticeships where kids who've got degrees were being offered jobs at, well, it's a pound shop, in a well-known pound shop in the UK.
I do know it, yeah.
And you see, when you have people in the public arena that denigrate the youth of your society, you just think, I do not have any respect for a person, because what he's saying is, I am saying we want cheap labour coming in from outside the UK. The government they've accepted all these bribes, if you like, over the years to dumb down TV, to I mean, the BBC is corrupt, it gets funding from the EU. The stuff you see on television now is abhorrent. It must be totally abhorrent to the person who created us all. So, if these kids are being subjected to that box in the corner, I'm amazed that they actually still do go to work and do have self-respect, because I just think that what they're fed in social media, and the government's allowed it. The government could stop it.
Well, they all signed the Lima Agreement, where they exported all the jobs. I mean, I remember England in the 60s. It was the greatest country in the world. An unskilled person, again, I hate the term person, could go and get a job on Monday and not like it and start work again on Tuesday in a different job. Everybody had a job, and unless they were totally lazy and didn't want to work, but there was jobs for everybody, and even the menial jobs created money and people spent it and they had a life. But when you remove that by that agreement they signed way back then, here everything disappeared. All the jobs went, and now they got the people where they want them, in poverty, and they can control them. And they keep saying they're going to create new jobs, and they're going to pay off the debt when it's fractional reserve. I mean, the politicians just, and people believe it. They just dribble, and people say, "Oh yes, they're going to pay off the balance of power. The money is all gone. It's all borrowed. There is no money. It's just a fiat system and fractional reserve." So if a politician was to come out and mention that, we had a few here a lady called Pauline Hanson. She says exactly what she wants to say, and they've done everything to denigrate her, and she's still here. So, and there's a couple of others as well, but the truth is killing the system, and they don't like it. But the world is changing, and people are. England, I think England, if it goes to a general election, the two major parties will be gone. Would that be fair to say?
But that's the thing, what people say. Now, people say that over here, they're still tied in with the political system. They seem to think that if there is another general election, then, the major parties will get a drubbing. At the end of the day, we are global citizens. All the parties in the arena are controlled by the same Bilderbergs, Illuminati, the corporates, the businesses. They hold meetings behind closed doors. We don't know what they're discussing. I mean, why should they tell us? I mean, we're just nobodies, aren't we? And the rollout of 5G. You know, the rollout of 5G has to be the biggest crime against humanity. But then I saw somebody send me a link today that said that if you go for your flu vaccine, you know, coming up to winter, because it's coming up to winter here, the flu vaccine spreads cancer.
Yeah, that's another subject which I have a very good friend here. He got struck off actually he was at a meeting. It's on my YouTube channel. He went to a meeting to listen in on this, and some naturopath at the back kept saying, I've helped hundreds of people avoid getting vaccinations, and the media turned around and recognized him, and next he was on TV. He got struck off. He's the same age as me actually, and lovely man, but he said he told the truth about vaccination, and it's on my YouTube channel. Strangely, it wasn't taken down because he's a brilliant speaker, and what he said was so factual. But money, when there's money to be made, it's corruption. Nothing is going to change. So the money people will win one way or the other, and of course the media will not back up ordinary people. So it's an uphill battle. And the flu injection, I hadn't had the flu in 50 years because I use natural medicine, herbs and stuff to get rid of it in the first day. So a lot of my friends who had all these super strain injections have all ended up with the flu, because we had a very bad flu period here in Australia, which I remember in 1968, I think 68 or 69, England had a terrible. I was working in a hospital in London, in Birmingham area, and there was nobody on the switchboard. There was nobody to run anything. The mortuaries were full. And I remember that really well. So nobody got a vaccination for that after that. So people build up a natural immunity. But I'm not going to get involved with it because it's a waste of time. People will do whatever they want to do anyway. I don't get involved.
It's illegal now to talk about that sort of thing. I mean, they probably could knock on your door now and say you're a distributor of fake news if you talk about vaccines being an issue.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. That's in England, is it?
Yeah. There's
here as well.
Ramped up, courtesy of the big pharma, I guess. Well, we've got big. I don't know if you've been following a case over here called David Noakes. He's a guy that I've interviewed a few times, and he went into production of something called GC-MAF, which is produced normally, under normal circumstances in the human body, but when you get cancer, that's when obviously that production has either slowed down or is non-existent. So it's not there to fight the cancer cells. So he was distributing GC-MAF, and so the establishment of Big Pharma didn't want that. So they, say, oh, it's money laundering or whatever. They will look for an excuse to shut you down.
Oh, well, it goes back to one time homeopathic or allopathic and naturopathic medicine were on a level in America. And of course, the big boys, Carnegie and all, Morgan put money into it, and then of course they could see the money aspect of it, and of course natural medicine got hit on the head. It was called quacks and ran out of the country down to Mexico. So money is God, and God is a word which you've got to be careful mentioning now because it's a naughty word. And what people don't realize, these people in these power areas, we're all going to get old, and regardless of what money you've made, as I said, I'm 74, regardless of what you've done, ex-army officers, everything, it all piles down to a crock of poo-poo in the end, even for them. And you could end up in a nursing home and nobody will give us stuff. So for the 20 or 30 years they spend making money and destroying people's lives, it's all going to come back on them. And I hope to God they do regret it.
What you say about going into nursing homes, actually talking about insurance and medical situations, we have an NHS here, But if you go privately, I've noticed now that the private medical companies are tightening up on their allowance system. When I raised this subject with somebody else, they said that most insurance companies are actually totally insolvent. So the government is wanting to privatise our NHS. I don't mean government, I mean any MP. It's not themselves, not necessarily. It's the civil servants, it's the deep state. So they're going into a privatisation situation. But you've got to realise that I've got people, from the political party I used to be a member of. Oh, it's great. We need to be privatised. Yeah, it'll be much better value for money. Well, I don't know how they work that one out, but anyway. And then what happens if the insurance company says, I'm not going to pay, and then we haven't got an NHS?
The NHS system is pretty good. It should be left alone. Well, we've everything has been privatized. We had the land control all the land or the property and stuff. The 4 banks own 80% of that office now, and a private enterprise. So everything has been privatized. Sadly, Victoria Police was one of the greatest police forces in Australia. Great mob. They've been privatized. Our courts are privatized. All the police forces have been privatized. And sadly, the working men and women, the sergeants up on the street, they know it, they hate it, and they want to be good cops, but they can't. And of course, the bosses, which is the police command, they want to be good police officers, which I hate the term officer again, which means like corporation. They want to be good too, but then they lose their pensions, they lose their jobs. So a budgie government really controls everybody's life. And unless the people know about what you and I know, and some of the people watching now that know, unless we get that message out to the majority of people, nobody's going to back our police forces or our courts or anything. We're just going to, the Walking Dead will carry on, and they'll all queue up to go to work in the morning in the traffic.
Well, for the people watching, you live in Melbourne, and Melbourne is famous. I've been to Melbourne, and I think one of its most famous sites are those adorable little fairy penguins.
Oh, and yes, the penguin. I've seen them. Been there once, and I live about 40 kilometres away.
Oh no, they're so cute. So on a night, the penguins come in from the sea, and they do like a little. They do a walk past, don't they, up the beach, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them, all one after the other.
Yeah, they go into the little burrows for the night.
Oh yeah, that's what beach.
It's a tourist attraction. It's quite a good tourist attraction, actually. Yes, we've got a lot of.
About the police, and I was just thinking of the black and whites of the penguins, and I guess we find now that the police are basically a decoration, like the penguins, because all they seem to be concerned about is doing silly dances down the street to celebrate LGBTQ agenda rolled out.
I found that very embarrassing, because I joined the Special Constabulary in England way back in the 60s, and we used to play football with the kids in the street, and we'd walk around the streets and ride their bicycles and play football with them. And those days have gone, sadly, but then people have changed, you see. All the police forces here are armed, and the attitude towards the police has changed, which is sad, because it's a very, very dangerous job here in Australia now. I mean, when back a few months ago or something, we had 5 shootings and deaths in Melbourne alone, and we have tight gun control, which is another story. But the crooks are getting guns, and the police are so scared to use their firearms because the public will be on them like a brick. Even we had one in Melbourne, a shooting in Melbourne. You may have seen it. A guy came around of a different religion with a knife, and lucky enough he didn't know how to use that knife, but he'd already killed a man, and he tried to stab these 2 policemen, and they were hitting him with batons. And then at one stage the young kid went, he's only just out of the academy, hang on, this is a knife coming at me. He took his firearm out and he shot him. But the police are scared to use their firearms even when their life is in peril. And it's sad that they have they're trying to serve two masters. There's respect has gone, and of course the police are always seen in a bad light. If people could just look at the police, what they have to put up with in one day, even if they are a private company and they're not doing what they should be doing, but it's not their fault, it's the government. And it is a very, very dangerous job. And I'm sure in England, nobody goes to work to get bashed, and it's respect is gone and discipline is gone. And of course that started in the schools, where you can't speak to a kid, the kids can ring up the police if you smack them, and it's all part of the system. And I always say this, and I hope there's a few barristers listening: crime is an industry, and if crime was to stop tomorrow, there'd be a lot of high-ranking people out of work. Police wouldn't, but the Bar Association would be on the bones of their bum, and that'd be a good thing.
People serve two masters, God and Mammon.
You broke up there. What was the two masters?
Isn't it God and Mammon?
Oh, well, I don't know that. Well, look, there's anybody who doesn't believe in God. I'm not religion. I can't stand religions of any description, right? But if somebody can come along and make me a fingernail out of nothing, I believe then there's no God. Well, somebody had to make it, because anybody who's got any knowledge of anatomy and physiology, when they just look at a red cell alone or a kidney, somebody had to be pretty smart to make that in the first place.
Oh, I don't believe in religion insofar as you've got all these churches which were infiltrated not decades, literally hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And that's the reason so many churches, one of the reasons why so many churches now are empty. It's very much, if we could have united behind a church to dump the European Union, I'm sure we could have done. I asked about, for the Church of England, do this, and you see all the appointees in the Church of England are political appointees. So on the one hand, do you see what I mean? So they're all Remainers.
Well, it could be seen on reasonable grounds. Again, it could be seen on reasonable grounds that the clergy are guilty of treason, because it's their job to explain the Constitution to the people.
Oh, well, that's interesting, actually, because I used to go to a local Methodist church, and I said about common law, and this is God's law, and the minister said, please don't talk about this. We're not interested. It's not relevant to the church. And I thought, wow, you see Welby, who's come out of, was it the oil industry, then went into the City of London, and then he's come into the church, and then he's a political appointee.
Well, they all are. They give up. When marriage is, there's two types of law: legal and lawful, right? And people are said to live in sin when it's common law, but a common law marriage is the true law. The legal marriage is just a contract of paper, a piece of paper. That's the contract, so barristers, solicitors can make some money. But the churches give all their records to the government, and of course now they don't pay taxes, so they've done a deal way back. They're all breaking. Yeah.
Right. Brilliant. And it's like UNESCO, all these heritage sites. Who actually owns them? Who's making money from them?
Well, that's right. And again, we'll all face the final court. Whether you believe it or not, whether you face the final court, it's all going to come to an end. So if some of these people who are making other people's lives a misery, and that's mostly the bankers and stuff, they're all going to be old one day, and nobody will give a stuff about them. I mean, if you stop and think, which is not going to happen, wouldn't it be great? There'd be no poverty, money, everybody could eat, even the third world countries that have food and places to live, if so many people weren't so greedy.
Well, Barry, how about we do another show and we focus perhaps on those. I'm going to do a bit of reading up now about the Australian system with the bail-ins, because I do see as we keep in with the European Union, the bail-in situation is quite prominent in Europe, and this is something that I fear that we will end up with a bail-in situation here. We've already got Switzerland on negative interest rates. We have, you know, banks in Italy, for example, because there's hundreds of banks in Italy, and some of those have, I believe, dipped into their account holders' deposits. So this is something that you've linked it up with pension, the superannuation scheme. So we've been on the air about 50 minutes now. Can we do a part 2 on this sometime, please?
It's been really good talking to you, Ashley. Well, you know, let's hope that we get some more information, and I do hope that England gets out of the EU, and I wish Ireland would do the same thing. Irish politics is a mess. I mean, look at the Prime Minister. He's an embarrassment. I've said that to him on Facebook, so he probably won't like me anyway. But the whole setup.
Is that Varadkar?
I don't know what it is. That's spelled with a W.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. Well, thank you, Barry. I know it's bedtime for you, and it's the middle of the day here in the UK, but I think what we do need to understand is that we are all in it together. The people are all in it together, especially us in the Commonwealth, because we haven't even touched upon the subject of cancer, which is what Boris Johnson is very supportive of, and it means free movement throughout the Commonwealth, as I understand it. So if you think about that, take a big gulp. He's such a good chap, isn't he, Barry? Anyway, I won't let you say anything other now. Thanks to everybody for listening, and my greatest thanks to Barry to keeping up for the show. Barry, would you like to say something about your YouTube channel or anything else?
Well, I'll probably put this up on YouTube channel if I can edit it down to a reasonable length of time. And the YouTube channel is Lundove, Lundove, and there's look at the Titanic's on there, and Guinness and stuff, and the tours that is. So, and it's got that lovely train I've just been on. So fantasy train. Anyway, well, it's Harry Potter's fantasy train. So anything from now on, everything's a fantasy, and the truth is a conspiracy. So I think I'll stick to that term.
We'll have to pick up on that Titanic, because at the moment we're just busy rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Thanks, and I'll be doing another show later on today, which will get edited up probably by tomorrow, and it'll be about Epstein and the Clinton Foundation. So I look forward to seeing you then. And thanks, Barry. And good night to you, and speak to you soon. Goodbye for now.
And to you. Bye-bye. We're off. Are we off?